Hey, what's going on YouTube? My name's Holden Blaze, and today we're going to be talking about some of the top crypto stocks to buy for this upcoming bull market. You see, I usually talk about altcoins on this channel when it comes to capitalizing off of this crypto cycle. However, there are a handful of stocks that we can use to our advantage as well. This video will outline 13 of my favorite crypto-oriented stocks, and I will talk about some various price targets for all of these assets. If you appreciate this type of content, make sure to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comment section below. However, please note I am not a financial advisor and this video is not financial advice. With that being said, that brings us to the first stock that I want to talk about today, which is Coinbase. Coinbase is currently sitting at $200 per share, and you can see right at IPO it was sitting at $250, so it's still below its IPO price. However, it hit lows around $33 in early 2023, and so it's rebounded heavily from the lows. However, it could potentially see a lot more upside if the crypto market keeps heating up. Coinbase is a great catch-all play because you do not have to bet on one particular crypto asset going up. You just have to bet on the fact that more people are going to want to buy crypto as the bull market heats up, and you assume that a lot of people are going to go to Coinbase in order to buy these crypto assets. I believe that Coinbase is a pretty obvious buy and hold stock if you are bullish in cryptocurrency. However, of course, I'm not a financial advisor, and I must admit that Coinbase was a much better buy early 2023. However, moving on to the next stock, we're going to be talking about MicroStrategy. This is Michael Saylor's company, and it basically just holds a bunch of Bitcoin. The actual company doesn't do all that much. It really just holds a ton of Bitcoin, and you can see that MicroStrategy stock is actually front running this Bitcoin move. It's sitting around all-time highs at the moment, while Bitcoin has cooled off a little bit. That is interesting to note, and I do believe it is based off of their recent purchases of Bitcoin. Michael Saylor has been throwing money at Bitcoin heavily the past couple of years, and this company does have a substantial stake in Bitcoin. If Bitcoin is headed to a new all-time high and into 6 digits, I do believe MicroStrategy stock will continue to go up just because all of its net worth is tied to Bitcoin. And while this is a super popular crypto stock, it's honestly not my personal favorite. I would much rather just buy Bitcoin itself than invest into MicroStrategy. However, once again, I am not a financial advisor. Next up, we're going to be talking about Robinhood Markets. This is a stock that many people forget how much crypto exposure they have. They own a lot of cryptocurrency, and they tend to attract a lot of people when crypto heats up. When we are seeing euphoria in the market, we're going to see a lot of new retail investors, and retail investors love using Robinhood. We've seen this stock already pick up in the past few months. Last November, it was sitting around $8 a share, and now it's currently at $26. That being said, it's still substantially below its IPO price of $38, and its all-time high around $55. I personally think that Robinhood does have a chance to break all-time highs this cycle. I believe sometime in 2025, it is very likely that we see Robinhood stock valued around $50 a share and maybe even higher. That is because I think a lot of people will flood into the markets, and Robinhood is going to benefit heavily from that. This makes Robinhood and Coinbase very similar plays when it comes to investing into crypto stocks. However, I do like both of these plays, and honestly, I think Robinhood could offer more potential upside. Now, of course, next we need to talk about Mara Holdings. This is also known as Marathon, and this is a Bitcoin mining company. The interesting thing about Mara is the fact that they're also mining Caspa. They recently started doing this a few months ago, and it is very big. They do have BlackRock invested into their company, and while they are not holding Caspa for the long term, they do see the benefit of what that crypto has to offer. This is a stock I've been tracking for years on end, mostly because it was running up massively last crypto bull market. It went all the way from around $2 a share to highs at $75, and I did play it to the upside and the downside. I was able to short Mara in the bear market, and that paid off as well because it went from $75 all the way back down to $4 a share. This is a super volatile stock. However, it tends to heat up in a big way when we see euphoria in the crypto space. A lot of crypto assets will really start to inflate in valuation, and people will look to riskier and riskier assets. In the stock market, Coinbase stock and Bitcoin ETFs are the most obvious play when it comes to this crypto cycle. However, as time goes on and those assets go up, investors will look to riskier plays like Bitcoin mining companies, and I think Marathon is positioned itself in a great way this cycle. I do think it will run up in a big way sometime this bull market. And while I'm not sure it will hit new all-time highs above $75 a share, I would not be surprised if we saw Marathon back in the 30s, maybe even hitting $40 or $50 a share. This brings us to another crypto mining company called Riot Platforms. Now, Riot is a little bit more risky than Marathon in my personal opinion. Both businesses operate their companies in slightly different ways, and I personally prefer Marathon over Riot. However, we have to note that it also experienced a massive run up last cycle. Riot stock was down all the way at 70 cents in March of 2020, and it was able to hit highs around $71 a share. That is a ton of multipliers that you could have got on Riot last cycle, and it is positioned like a lot of altcoins that we see in cryptocurrency. This kind of reminds me of the Dogecoin chart with a big run up last cycle and then months of consolidating near the bottom. Right now, Riot has not experienced much of a pump from its recent lows, and I do think Riot will have some time in the spotlight. Again, I view this as even riskier than Marathon, which itself is a very volatile stock. These assets are going to kind of move like altcoins. I've experienced holding these stocks long term, and I have experience holding many altcoins, and I can tell you that they both move in very dramatic fashions. Out of nowhere, crypto mining companies will start to pump very heavily, and another one I want to put on your radar is Cleanspark. Cleanspark is another Bitcoin mining company that experienced a very dramatic run up. It hit lows around $1 a share back in 2020, and it was able to climb all the way to $38 a share. Again, a lot of multipliers last cycle, and like the other Bitcoin miners, it has been consolidating at the lows for some time now. It actually was able to pump pretty substantially earlier this year. Back in January, it was sitting at $6.80 a share, and it climbed all the way up to $21 a share before consolidating and going downwards. And so I do think there is life in this stock. Again, I think we have to wait until euphoria for the big moves to come, but I really do like the chart on Cleanspark, and I do personally think it will perform similar to Marathon. Now, moving on, we have to talk about a Bitcoin ETF. This is pretty straightforward. We don't need to spend a ton of time on this. This ticker specifically, IBIT, is BlackRock's ETF. It is the largest Bitcoin ETF at the moment, and you can see it tracks the price of Bitcoin. For me personally, I would rather have Bitcoin than a Bitcoin ETF 90% of the time. However, Bitcoin ETFs are very nice to have in a Roth IRA. Any retirement account that allows you to avoid capital gains taxes is very beneficial to you, and it allows you to profit off Bitcoin completely tax-free. Yes, you're gonna have to wait a couple decades to withdraw the funds. However, it's great exposure to have, and for that reason, I do think there is a spot for Bitcoin ETFs in people's portfolios. Of course, I'm not a financial advisor. You can do absolutely anything you want, but here is another Bitcoin ETF. This is Grayscale's Bitcoin ETF, and it has been around for a bit longer. Again, it just tracks the price of Bitcoin, nothing too exciting about that. However, our next Bitcoin ETF is a little bit different. This is a 2x Bitcoin strategy ETF, which means that it tracks the price of Bitcoin with 2x leverage. This is an ETF that you really do not want to hold long term. A lot of the leveraged ETFs have some sort of slippage. So while it is tracking the Bitcoin price 2x to the upside, if you hold for a long amount of time, you will see the value start to go down. It's a little more complicated, but I don't want to go into the whole thing in this video. Just know that any leveraged ETF is designed for trading, not long-term investing. That being said, a Bitcoin ETF that's leveraged at 2x can be very beneficial for trading, especially when we're in a bull market and Bitcoin is pumping heavily. That being said, the next ETF that I want to talk about does not actually perform well when Bitcoin is pumping. This is a short Bitcoin ETF, which means that it goes up when Bitcoin goes down. You can see the past year has been an absolute bloodbath for this ETF as Bitcoin keeps pumping higher. However, this ETF is very beneficial when we are getting closer to Bitcoin topping out. Eventually, we will want to have some downside exposure in our crypto or stock portfolios, and this short Bitcoin ETF called BITI gives us that opportunity. This next ETF is very similar. It's called SBIT, and basically it tracks Bitcoin to the downside, but with 2x leverage. Again, you can use this ETF if you want to quickly trade a Bitcoin move. However, it's not really meant to hold long term, especially given the fact that it's inverse and Bitcoin goes up long term. This is not something you want to invest into with your Roth IRA. However, it is a tool you can use to trade this crypto market. Now, with that being said, we only have 2 more stocks to cover, and they are some of my personal favorites just because they are beaten down heavily since last crypto bull market. This first one here is Block, also known as Square. It rebranded to Block a couple years ago, and you can see it has all-time highs around $275 a share. It's currently sitting at $72, and it's been consolidating for a long time right here. This honestly looks very similar to a lot of the altcoin charts that we track daily, and I do think Block will have its time in the spotlight. That is mainly because Block owns over 8,000 Bitcoin. When Bitcoin is pumping to new all-time highs and hitting 6 figures, Block is going to have a higher valuation because of their Bitcoin holdings. It says here they hold roughly 0.039 of the total Bitcoin supply, and that does amount to over $53 million. That is substantial exposure to cryptocurrency, and I do think Block stock will perform pretty well when Bitcoin is hitting new all-time highs. I would not be surprised if Block eventually tested its all-time high again. I'm not convinced it can hit $300 a share. However, I think $200 a share is pretty doable. Moving on to PayPal, which is another stock that has gotten beaten up heavily since 2021. It topped out all the way at $308 a share back in 2021, and since then it has fallen all the way down to $80. At the very lows, it was valued around $50 a share. However, I do think PayPal has a lot more upside left in the tank. We saw in last crypto bull market, PayPal go from $86 all the way up to $300. And while the pandemic did help PayPal and Block out a lot, I do think PayPal will go up substantially when Bitcoin's hitting new all-time highs. That is because PayPal holds even more crypto than Block. It holds almost $1 billion of cryptocurrency, and that's spread out between Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and Litecoin. If these cryptocurrencies start pumping, PayPal stock is likely going to follow it and could offer us some potential reward for this coming bull market. With that being said, that covers all of the stocks that I wanted to share with you today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and comment down below if you enjoyed this content. Make sure to check out some of the other videos around my channel, and I really hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace out.